Wake up, boys. It's LM Note Week 4. Let's get
Let's
it.
go.
I got Steven with me. We're going nuts. Hold on. Can I throw some emojis in the chat real quick? I'm reacting. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. There we go. All right, boys. So Steve wasn't available this week. So me and Steven are going at it this week, trying to get you the best LM Note possible. Steven, I'm still recording, right?
I can. Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we're going to start with some news around the league. Let's start with AJ's team because that is a whole lot of fucking news. AJ's team is completely gone. He's starting people that I would never start in a fantasy football league. Now I know that both of his running backs are out, so that is heartbreaking for AJ in a week that was definitely going to be a good game at full strength. I think he had a pretty clear chance to pull it out with Mahomes and the matchups that he was getting. But without his two-star running backs, that is going to look hard. Go ahead, Steven.
In other news, the Pittsburgh Steelers and Tennessee Titans game has been delayed due to COVID-19. Some positive cases in each organization has led the game to be moved and rescheduled for Week 7 on October 25th. And then that means the Steelers and Baltimore Ravens game will get moved from October 25th to November 1st.
Let's go. All right, so all that craziness is going down. And then Josh just added MVS, which I think is the most important ad of the week, only because there's no Alan Lazard. So if Devontae Adams is limited at all, basically MVS, as Michael Valdez-Scantling, has basically that entire field to himself, and he's playing against the Falcons, which we know can't cover a bunch of high school kids. So he is looking for a good week. Let's move to news around the NFL. So this is where we'll do injuries and stuff. So there's no Chris Godwin this week. Steven, go ahead.
Also, Michael Thomas is returning from injury this week. Looks like he'll be back to play against the Lions. So he's got a good matchup looking there. That's great news for Steve.
Yes, great news for Steve. Bad news for me. Also bad news for me. Julio is supposed to play this week as well. So Steve is full strength with his wide receivers playing against the Packers, who have been giving up a little bit of points, which should be a shootout on Monday night. So Julio should be back.
And then good news for me. George Kittle is finally back. After a few weeks of being out and me having some kind of tight end issues, Kittle is back and he should be 100% ready to go.
You gotta love the Kittle monster. And then in last news for Steve, this is really not important because he has him on his bench anyway, but Leonard Fournette is not supposed to play. He's projected currently 1 point in sleeper as I'm recording this. So, yeah, I don't think he's going to play. Maybe Chris Godwin plays. He was projected 0.2 points this week. Maybe he's playing.
Great for me.
Rojo.
Let's
go. Rojo trade. Rojo. Matchup analysis time. So we're going to go through the games. First game is game of the week. Me and Steven came to an agreement that the game of the week should be Josh versus Ethan. Steven, your thoughts?
Honestly, I have Ethan in this one. I might come as a surprise, but I think Lamar is pissed coming after that tough loss against the Chiefs. He plays a kind of shaky Washington team whose offense has been struggling against a good Baltimore defense. So the Ravens will be on the field for a while. So I think Ethan's got this one. I like his matchups. He's got DK against Miami, Jarek against Philadelphia, Amari against Cleveland. I think he just has really good matchups headed for him this week.
I am going to have to disagree here. I love Ethan's team. I think that he is much better than his 0-3 record says. But Josh's running back matchups are insane. Again, he's got playing the Bengals. He's got the Cowboys against the Browns. I think that is going to be insane. They're going to torch them. His defense had 70, which is just about an average week. But he's got a couple greens. I know he's got the 2 reds at wide receiver, but Allen Robinson finally was used last week. And DJ Moore always seems to get his catches regardless. I think this is going to be a very close game. I'm going to take Josh to win by less than 60, which in a really nail-biter game.
It's a close game.
Yeah. Game number 2, I have me versus Steve. Steven, go ahead and give your opinion.
I think we can all agree that Al's gonna win this one. Melvin Gordon had a fantastic night last night, 268 points. He's got Matt Ryan with Julio back, so like Al said in the matchup, that game's gonna be a bit of a shootout. Although Steve does have his receivers back, I still don't like how he's looks like he's starting four Browns still. I just don't think that'll ever pan out for him. So I think I'm gonna have to take Al in this one.
Yeah, I can't give my opinion. That is against what I do, but I am a little nervous considering that my quarterback doesn't play till Monday night, and Steve has a couple guys on Monday night, which I never like. I always like to have to chase from behind points and not have when I don't like when my opponent has people on Monday night games. That always scares me. But moving on to your matchup this week, in what should be an absolute destruction of you versus Darren. Now, my opinion on this game is that Steven beats him by at least 300 points. Steven, if you look at Steven's matchups, literally you have to scroll down to not see green. Um, he has super favorable matchups. Darren started Frank Gore, so you already know that he was just expecting to go into this with a loss. He's got no Juju. He's got no Philip Lindsay is out again, and he's got no Christian McCaffrey, obviously. So this is just going to be rough for Darren to overcome. I think he's going to lose again. He doesn't have his players at full strength. He cannot compete with the super team that Steven is currently running with.
I would have to agree. Obviously, I do prefer my matchups, and it is pretty painful seeing Darren have to start Frank Gore. We got 41 points as an RB2. It's just something you hate to see. So obviously, I don't want to talk too early, but I think it's fair to say that I'm not very worried about this week.
Perfect. Then let's go on to Christian versus AJ. Steven, your thoughts?
Christian versus AJ. This is probably the second best game of the week. It should be a tight one. I do say I have to go with Christian on this one. AJ is starting some pretty shaky players. He's starting two rookie wide receivers in CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson. He's starting Rex Burkhead at RB2, which is he's starting Darrell Henderson as well, which might not be bad against the Giants and some injuries in that backfield. So, but I think you just have to go with Christian on this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. Christian's defense put up 100 points, and he took the Jets, the worst team I've ever seen in football in my entire life. So if he can start the Jets and put up 100 points, I don't think he's got anything to worry about. I know Patrick Mahomes can always do magic for AJ, but he's missing his top two running backs. He's starting rookie wide receivers who have had good seasons so far, but I just don't think that he can pull it out. Already projected to lose by almost 100. I think that he just doesn't have enough depth to be able to overcome this adversity that he has this week. But I think AJ will be fine in the future. Just hit a rough patch. On to the last game of the week, Lem versus Boone. Steven, your thoughts?
Yes, obviously, I think I have to go with Boone on this one. The Battle of the Ryans. Aaron Rodgers going against an always shaky Atlanta defense. He's bound to score high on that one. I don't know what Lem's obsession with Jared Goff is, but he's playing a shaky Giants defense. This game will be pretty close, I think, in my opinion. But I think Boone just has the favorable matchups with Chris Carson against Miami, Tyler Lockett against Miami, Kenyon Drake against Carolina. I think he has the favorable matchups in this one compared to Lem with a few tough ones, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Boone as well. Aaron Rodgers looked a little slow to begin last week, but if he's getting Devontae Adams back, obviously he will be right back to the Aaron Rodgers that we've seen this season. He has been slinging it. Chris Carson scares me just a little bit because of that hamstring, I think, injury that he had. As long as he's playing, I think that Boone is fine. Lem still doesn't have a kicker in, so I don't know what he's actually projected, but I think this game is going to be very close. I'm still going to take Boone. Lem's team always seems to underperform his projections. He just had an injury bug this year, hasn't really been able to do everything he wants to. Boone's coming off that hot win against me where he put up 1,700 points. So I think Boone rides the W train and gets past Lem. Alrighty. Then let's move to an accurate power rankings.
Okay.
At number 1, obviously, I gotta put Steven. Steven is 3-0. He's looked very good this year. He does not really have any weak spots in his team. I mean, he had Kittle out and he continued to put up points. His bench depth at wide receiver and running back scares me a little bit, but I mean, these are all players who could definitely go off in a certain week. And just because they have bad matchup this week, it does not mean that they have bad matchups every week. He can play a backup on a good or against a bad defense and put up points. His quarterbacks are killing it. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. Steven is number 1 with ease. Oh, shoot. My bad. I'm also doing number 2. Josh is going to be number 2 for power rankings of week 4. Josh's team has looked really good. He put up almost 1,800 points last week. I know James Robinson really went nuts, but he's got another super easy matchup. He might be a little overrated through the only week that he played against a really bad Dolphins defense, but he's got the Bengals, another really bad defense that I think he can tear up. His wide receivers are a little shaky, but like for this week's matchup, but they've definitely been good. He made that trade. He got what he wanted out of it. His bench looks like he's got a lot of good running backs for backup. Dak's looked pretty good. He's put up a ton of points this year. Yeah, I got to put him at number 2.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And at number 3, we got to go with Alex. I know Steve said he thinks his team is overrated, and you might think that at the beginning of the year, but each week you've got to look at how many points each player has put up, and his team is super consistent. Calvin Ridley's been more than what we've expected. Melvin Gordon, even last night, putting up a lot of points. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is everything we expected. He's got a solid quarterback that absolutely chucks the ball every game. I also don't see a weak spot in his team. Maybe his depth of running back on his bench, but that I still don't see that being a problem for him this year. So Alex at 3. 4, we got to go with Christian. We do like Zeke having to carry him every week. That's always going to be a big game player. He's got a nice wide receiver duo, Mike Evans and Adam Thielen. They will always be pretty consistent, hopefully, for him. Usually, they'll put up some big points. The only issue is maybe his tight end spot is looking a little shaky. He had to pick up Jimmy Graham in the waivers, which is not. I don't like it personally, but yeah, I think we had to go Christian at 4.
All right, and then at number 5, this was a tough one. Between our 5 and 6, we had some trouble. But this week, we are going to have to put Boone at 5. I'm starting to ride the Steve hype train. I think Boone has a reputation for being really bad, but his team has looked amazing this year. Aaron Rodgers has been slinging it. Tyler Lockett has just been a touchdown machine. I like Boone's team at the very beginning of the year. I tried to trade for a couple of his wide receivers. I was really hype on them. He's not putting up the most points, but I mean, he's winning games. I mean, 4,500 is actually ahead of me, so that actually is a lot of points. The only reason we have him ahead of AJ is because AJ is looking to have a rough week. Boone's coming off a huge win over me that he absolutely just blew me out of the water. So, yeah, Boone at 5 this week. Let's go, Boone. Beat the Ryan Man.
Obviously, you said AJ at 6. So 7, we're gonna have to go with Ethan. Now, the only reason Ethan is this low is because he's 0-3, and we felt like we couldn't put an 0-3 team any higher than this. He has a solid team, but I mean he does have a lot of points, but last week obviously we saw his team underperform very, very much, which is kind of a maybe a sign, but I still like his team, but I think he has gotten unlucky. But with the start he's had against some tough matchups, I just couldn't see us putting him any higher than 7 at 0-3.
And to add to that, he has points against at over 5,000, which even beats out you for points for. He's just really been unlucky. I mean, last week, if that is Ethan's team, he is in trouble. But I think the first 2 weeks is a more accurate representation of Ethan's team. He's just been really unlucky. I hope that he gets some easier matchups down the road and can continue or can start to get that winning streak going. At number 8, we're going to go ahead and put Lemibot. Lem has had tons of injuries. I said it in my interview. I think Lem's team isn't that great, but his injuries don't help him. I think that his players have underperformed because he's had to switch out players every week. His running backs were injured literally through the first 3 weeks. I really think that Jared Goff isn't the play. I think that his quarterbacks aren't very good, but his running backs I do like, and his wide receivers I do like. I just think that they have been having some trouble, and so has Darren Waller, even one of his best players. I think Jonathan Taylor could have a really good start this season now that he is his own running back in his own backfield. So I think that Lem could turn it around. I just think that he's got to stay away from the injury bug. He's just getting unlucky right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I say at 9, we're gonna actually go with Darren. Now we're saying Darren, even though his team is looking very weak right now, with him having to start Frank Gore, obviously we see the injury bug kind of hitting. Once he gets McCaffrey back, once Juju comes back after this week, once Philip Lindsay even comes back, and then maybe once Deebo Samuel starts, his team will actually be pretty strong, but I think he's just gotten pretty unlucky with how injuries have been hitting him. I do actually kind of like his team, other than his running backs. I don't like them very much, but I think the rest of his team is pretty strong. I think he's gotten very unlucky with the injury bug as of lately.
I
And
agree. Then, oh, you good?
go for it. Go for it.
All right. Number 10, we have Steve. Now, Steve is another guy who caught the injury bug early. He lost Mike Tom and Julio for Mike Tom for multiple weeks and Julio for last week. And then the week before, he had that 50-yard bomb touchdown that he dropped. So Steve has just gotten unlucky. I don't like that he's starting so many Browns. I think that his downfall. But Steve was talking to me when I got interviewed last week about his players coming back and hoping like by week 6 he can finally start to turn the table and start to run the table like he did last year. I never count Steve out after what I saw him do at 2-4 last year to come all the way back. I think he just needs to get rid of some of these Browns and he needs to get RB2. I don't think you can start 2 Browns at running back every week and expect to win games. Yeah, and as a huge Baker fan, it hurts me to say, but I don't think Baker is it this year. They do have a good matchup, but I don't think that you can expect the Browns to be putting up 50 points a game to get you a fantasy win.
Yeah, to add to that, even the problem with his, I don't really like his bench either, to be fair. I mean, he had Justin Herbert as his backup, which I don't understand it. I honestly don't. I don't really like any rookie quarterbacks in fantasy. But I mean, T.Y. Hilton with a new quarterback, he's been kind of struggling lately. Obviously, we didn't really. You could have said you had expected it, but it's just gotten kind of tough. Obviously, Steve has great wide receivers, but like Al said, I don't see how you can expect to win fantasy football games when you have 2 Browns running backs playing together on your team.
Absolutely. Then we have an exciting inter we have an exciting interview coming soon. So soon. What is good, everyone? Welcome to the interview. We got a special guest today. His name is Ethan, and he's bad at fantasy football. We got Steven as well in here. This is just a little interview part we got. Ethan doesn't know his power ranking yet, so I'm going to tell him. Then we're going to ask him some questions, and we're going to get a good week 4. Ethan, your power rank is 7. How does that make you feel right now?
Well, I mean, it's a fair ranking. I'm 0-3. To be fair, I have lost to 3 best teams in the league. I play the 4th best team in the league coming up, but it's early in the season. My team had a terrible week last week. I mean, abysmal. So I'll take that right now. I think we'll pick it up in the near future, however.
All right, Steven, hit questions. Let's play 20 questions. Let's go ahead.
All right. 20 questions begins now. It's 4. So, Ethan, obviously, after a tough week last week, how well do you think your team will pick up after this week, seeing how they, as you said, performed abysmally last week against a very good Steven team?
Yeah, I mean, I like where I really like where my team's at. My receiving core, I mean, Amari could be putting in a couple more touchdowns. He's got 0 this year, but I'm confident with that. My running back situation's a little iffy because I'm just kind of playing the starting running back for the 49ers, but they all seem to get hurt. But I'm fairly confident that I'll finally get my first win this week. Lamar's playing Washington. He might play 3 quarters, but I think, that'll be a good game for him. I mean, DK and Amari have great matchups, so I'm feeling pretty good. It hurts Jonnu being out with the whole COVID thing, but
Yep. Well, we all know you have a good team. We're all hoping you find your stride soon. We know. And then with a tough matchup this week against a 3-0 Josh, it looks like you've made only 1 lineup change compared to the poor performance you had last week, which is at tight end. You brought in Hunter Henry. But so obviously it seems like you have a lot of faith in this lineup that you've built.
Yeah, I really do. Every week's a little I don't know, a little contemplation between Kyler and Lamar. Kyler's had a breakout season, and Lamar has kind of gotten off the blocks a little slow. But like I said, I'm confident in my team. I really like some of the acquisitions I made on the bench, but other than Jamison Crowder, I really don't see any starter potential in those guys. So I'm just gonna roll with the lineup I got right now and just hope they have been producing last week, so hopefully they'll just keep bringing in points and maybe the wins start coming.
Yep, hopefully. You kind of dove into my next question already. So Lamar really hasn't been too much of himself this season as what we saw last season in his MVP season. So what will it take, and what have your thoughts been on trying to bring in Kyler Murray into that starting lineup?
It's it's really tough. I wish Kyler had a better game against Detroit. That would have given me a lot more confidence in him. But I mean, he still played well. Just the 2 interceptions there hurt. He is playing Carolina, but I think Carolina is a lot more susceptible to the run than they are to the throwing game. So that's why I went with Lamar this week. I really think it's kind of a week-to-week basis. If I get a good matchup, then I'll probably start the player with a better matchup. But also it comes down to, I might have Lamar starting at the 1:00 game. But, if I'm up a certain amount of points, I might just put in Kyler or whatever the situation is. It's a really fluid situation because I think they are both really good. So it's just week to week. I don't have a solidified number 1 at the QB position.
It's tough. You definitely got 2 definitely very elite number 1 QBs in your team, and you definitely got some big decisions to make at any time of the week. But this week you do have some nice looking matchups. Will you be focused on anyone potential, hopefully that they'll either boom this week or give you the edge with a few nice matchups you got?
Yeah, I'm really looking at Amari Cooper. I think this will be a very big week for him. He's playing Cleveland. They're gonna throw the ball a lot. And I'm going up against Dak. So my hope is Dak throws. I mean, he targets Amari a lot, but he's not getting him touchdowns. Especially this week, I need Amari to get touchdowns. So when Dak gets those 60 points for the touchdown, so does Amari, and it kind of evens out. Um, I'd like Hunter Henry to have a good week. He's playing Tampa Bay. We'll see how that goes, but and then I mean McKinnon against Philadelphia. The Eagles are so bad. Hopefully they just get out to an early lead and run the ball. But
Mhm.
I I think for my team to take the next step, I need Amari Cooper to start. He's getting 8 receptions for 90 yards every game. That's good, but I need the touchdowns. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yep. That sounds about right. Your team will start finding its stride soon. Your players will start stepping up. I'm sure of it. Any words for Josh this week?
Um, oof. I mean, I I just best of luck, Josh. But I really need this win. I really need this win this week. I feel confident in my team. Um, but we'll see. Also, we got to figure out a way to get that James Robinson deal done, Josh. Or give me Mixon. He's a running back 3 at best. So
Josh does
I
love Joe Mixon. Couldn't tell you why.
yes, he does. And that Lem trade that should have gone through like that. That should have been done and dusted. So I'm
Agreed.
sorry, Lem.
Josh
But
has been crying for a tight end for the past 2 weeks, and then he gets offered a great one, and he turns it down. So
yeah, I'm not sure about that move. But best of luck to you, Josh. Um, but I really need the win this week, so I'll be cheering hard for the Hoosier Daddies.
yep.
All right. Ethan, thing. All right.
Mhm.
Every week there's a game of the week. Oh fuck. You are the game of the week. Never mind. You think you're gonna win. Steven, do you have anything to say to your opponent this week named Darren Mankey?
Darren, I'm just sorry. I'm sorry. This is gonna be an absolute thrashing.
Yeah.
Drilled. I see my team putting up 1,700 points this week, and I see your team maybe putting up 11. I could easily see how my team definitely would win by more than 300. I'm really confident going into this one. I think the best matchups I've had out of any week, and I've still been putting up crazy points. And I think my matchups this week are better than all of my other ones.
All right. Well, for you, Steve, what I have to say is I hope you lose. All right. Thank you, Ethan, for the great interview. Good luck this week. Please beat Josh. No one likes to see him win. Go Hoosiers. We will get you that